You ever have one of those weeks where a knock on the door flips your whole life upside down, and by the end of it you're fighting off more than just the dust from packing boxes? Yeah, that was me. Last week on my old family farm, I was just trying to get my life in order, closing out the house, sorting my late mother's things, trying not to think too hard about the fact that it was the end of something big. But all it took was 3 sharp raps at the door, like somebody collecting debts, and suddenly I was standing face to face with the queen bee of Maple Hill herself, Karen Hatcher, clipboard wielded like a scepter, legal guy in tow, staring me down like she'd just caught me stealing cable. I should have known then. This wasn't going to be any normal sale. This was going to be war. She started in with the formalities, my full name, like I was being summoned to court, her counsel, Donald, shuffling behind her, looking like he'd rather be anywhere else. The whole spiel about community standards, conservation zoning, visual continuity. Stuff that sounds official until you realize it's just another way to say, we want to control who moves in next to us. She tried to tell me I had to submit my sale for HOA review, that my property affected the community, which would have been real cute if my land hadn't been bought before Maple Hill was even a sketch on the back of a napkin. I told her as much, not that it fazed her. Karen had that look, the kind that says she's never lost an argument, at least not out loud. When the cops showed up the next morning, I honestly laughed. 2 squad cars rolling up like I'd robbed a bank instead of selling my own house. Marcus, my buyer, standing awkwardly on the lawn, his agent Deborah muttering about missed showings. They said someone reported suspicious activity, possible fraud, unauthorized removal of assets, the whole 9 yards. The younger cop was nervous, the older one was all business, but when I handed over the deed, the surveys, the boundary maps, even my contract, you could see it in their faces. This wasn't their first Karen rodeo. I joked about offering them lemonade, and when they told me I could file a complaint about false 911 calls, I almost wished I'd had the time to do it right then. Thing is, Karen didn't let up. She started putting flyers on mailboxes, bright orange, property under investigation, making it sound like I was running some kind of scam. It was laughable until Deborah started getting calls from buyers, people canceling showings because they'd heard my land was in legal limbo. I called my lawyer, Claire, a woman whose voice could slice glass and whose patience for HOA shenanigans was even thinner than mine. She'd already heard. Karen had filed an emergency motion with the county, claiming my property should have been included in the HOA and trying to put a restraining order on the sale. It was nonsense, but enough of it can gum up the works, and suddenly I was racing down to the courthouse, arms loaded with every document I could find, while Claire filed counter-motions, affidavits, maps from before the turn of the century. Anything to prove my land was never, not once, Maple Hill's business. But Karen, she was relentless. She went door to door, spinning stories about me selling to developers, accusing me of flipping protected land, handing out flyers like she was campaigning for office. When I got home, there was a fresh notice taped to my front door, fraudulent stamped across it, my name spelled wrong for good measure. I didn't tear it down. I took pictures, sent them to Claire, and started locking up like it was Fort Knox. I installed cameras, motion lights. If Karen wanted to escalate, I'd be ready. And escalate she did. Friday came, and there they were, Karen and her crew, all matching polos, clipboards, measuring wheels, just strolling through my gate like they owned the place. She tried to tell me it was a routine field assessment, citing some section of HOA standards like she was quoting scripture. I told her, again, she had no right to be there. I even laminated my boundary letter, just so I could hold it up to her face and say, read it. You don't own this dirt. She tried to slap a violation notice on my siding, and that's when I called the sheriff, phone on speaker, letting her know I wasn't playing. The deputies showed up, calm as ever, looked at my evidence, watched the video, and basically told Karen to knock it off or start getting used to seeing the inside of a courtroom. You'd think that would have been enough, right? Not for Karen. The next day, I'm in Claire's office, dumping phone recordings, fake notices, and camera footage on her desk. She filed a cease and desist against Karen and the HOA, putting complaints to the Real Estate Commission, and, just to really drive it home, dropped a press release to the local news. That night, my face was on the 6 o'clock, holding up Karen's fake notice like a trophy. My neighbors started texting me, some supportive, some just nosy. And somebody even slipped a copy of the actual HOA charter into my mailbox, sections highlighted that made it clear my land was never, ever under their control. Still, Karen had one more play. She called Marcus's agent pretending to be a regulator, asking for sale records, spoofed the number and everything. Claire barely blinked. We're filing criminal charges. And by Friday, Karen got served. Trespass, fraud, impersonating an official, the whole stack. I spent that weekend mowing the lawn with a beer in hand, GoPro rolling just in case someone tried to inspect my grass height. Come Monday, the quiet was so unnatural I started to wonder if the world had stopped turning. Then came the final act. Karen and her inspectors rolled up one last time, this time pasting a seizure notice to my gate, citing statutes that didn't even exist. I called the sheriff, Officer Bram, back again. By now he knew the drill. Watched the body cam footage, calmly informed Karen that a cease and desist means exactly that. When she kept ranting about preserving community standards, Bram just shrugged and cuffed her right there on my lawn. The two guys with her scattered like pigeons. The whole neighborhood watched as she was driven away, a spectacle that went viral by dinner. The HOA scrambled to disavow her. Acted alone, they said, without board approval. Too little, too late. By Friday's hearing, the courthouse was packed. Journalists, neighbors, half the town curious if the legend was true. The judge, Miriam Davis, wasn't having any of it. She reviewed the maps, the deeds, played the footage of Karen insisting, "We decide who lives here," and shut it down. Immediate injunctive relief. All notices to be retracted, Karen banned from my land, and from interfering with the sale ever again. Claire even got the judge to schedule a hearing for damages, defamation, lost income, emotional distress, the works. When it was over, one of the board members showed up at my door, sheepish, said not everyone had agreed with Karen, but nobody wanted to push back. I told him to start telling his neighbors, tell the county, tell anyone who'd listen. Then I signed the final sale papers, packed up, and on a blue-skied Tuesday, watched the moving truck take the last boxes, my mother's cookbooks, the old table, every memory bound for Florida. Marcus showed up, relief and gratitude in his eyes, and together we hung a new sign on the gate, private land, never HOA again. He even added solar lights later, sent me a photo, captioned, "No violations reported. HOA free since 2025. You know what? I laughed out loud, real and hard, for the first time in weeks. That's the thing. This wasn't just about boundaries or bylaws. It was about the simple right to say, "This is mine." If someone tries to take it, with a fake badge, a clipboard, or a smile that doesn't reach their eyes, you don't fold. You fight. And when you win, you hang your sign, not for them, but for yourself. So what do you think? Was justice served? Or did Karen just get what was coming to her? Let me know down in the comments, because I got a feeling this debate's just getting started. And hey, if you've ever tangled with an HOA or had to fight for what's yours, I want to hear about it. Share your story, drop your thoughts on right and wrong, power and pride, and if you think I did the right thing standing my ground. Don't forget to subscribe for more stories that dig deeper than property lines, because sometimes it's the smallest fights that say the most about who we are.